a team that I watched a little bit of their preseason last night, and the fortunate thing is that now preseason has started. We can kind of look at some of these teams that are now together. Let's look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that, of course, last year everybody and their mom was saying that this is an NBA Finals team. They traded for Rudy Gobert. They made, to some people, one of the dumbest trades in the NBA. To some people, it was a trade that needed to happen. But I think here on this channel, we agree with the former rather than the latter. But the Timberwolves, very interesting team because they have a lot of pieces that they could potentially move around. But really, I think we can all agree that this is Ant-Man's team. Is that right with everybody?
Most definitely. Yeah, not even a question. I'll just start with this team. I honestly am like way too high on this team. Like I kind of think I've lost the packet on this one. Like I'm a little off base. I think of them too highly. But I will stick with it. I honestly think that this team is one of the better teams in the West, if I'm being honest with you guys. I think they have the most potential like problems. Like I will not just blankly stare at it and, avoid truths that we saw come to fruition last season. Like they still have a lot of those same problems. Like I am of the opinion it'll never work to the highest level it possibly can while you still have Cat and Gobert. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I do think they're going to be really good in the regular season. Last season I got very what's the term I would say? I got out ahead of my skis with this team, and I said they were going to be one of the best regular season records in the NBA last season. Clearly very wrong. Definitely my worst take of last season.
I think I said the same song with you.
I honestly kind of feel I'm going to just double down because I kind of feel that way this season. And I think that's, I'm kind of setting myself up for another pie in the face here. But I just think like Anthony Edwards is so unbelievably good. Right. And really the difference from last season to this season, there's no question anymore whose team it is. Like you said, Bernie, like it's not even a question. It's clearly Ant's team. Did you guys see that move he did yesterday?
Insane.
It was unbelievable. He goes into the, mid-range. He's just absolutely cooking an entire team, right? By himself. And Brad, that was Kobe-esque. I don't throw that around lightly. That was very Kobe-like.
Very much.
I feel like he's just got this mentality, and we saw it like really blossom in the FIBA tournament, of course, right? Like he knows he's a dog. Like he knows he's got it, whatever it is. And I think last season that was really their problem. Like there was a lot of just indecision and indecisiveness amongst like their entire roster of whose team is this? What are we doing? What's the plan? And at the end of the day, too, this might be a controversial statement. I genuinely think Chris Finch is one of the better coaches in the league. I think last season was just such a debacle. It was really hard to manage expectations on top of how bad of a trade that really was. But the fact that they even righted the ship mid-season is genuinely impressive. Like it really is. They were one of the better teams for the last third of the season last year. And a lot of that stemmed from getting Mike Conley, who now they're going to go into this season having a full, year of old Mike Conley, but he's a point guard. They didn't have a real point guard for most of last season. So between that and then the fact that they have like a legit defense, they have 2 defensive player of the year candidates on this team. Like I say what you will about Rudy, he's not going to win another one, no matter how good he is on defense. He will never win another one. But that being said, him and Jaden McDaniels are both legitimate defensive player of the year candidates. I'm taking Jaden McDaniels to win defensive player of the year this year. So I'll just throw that out early too.
I love it. Shout out Seattle.
Shout out.
I guess Federal Way.
How you guys feel? You're with me, Brad, on this one?
Yeah, I love this team. I'm gonna double down on my take from last year too.
Charles Barkley guarantees over here.
Nice. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Oh my gosh. I don't think Rudy and Cat can't work together. I'm pretty sure they had a negative net rating when they were on the court together, and
yes, they did.
They were negative with Cat on and Rudy off like negative 0.5, but with Rudy on, they were like plus 10. So the defense is real. Even if he looks washed, like watching him in preseason, I'm like, this guy does like he can't catch a ball. He's got brick hands. He can barely finish dunk. Like if it's not a straight up hammer dunk, he can't finish it. Like no touch, free throws are still an issue. But he's tall, so like people stay away from him, and he shuts down the rim kind of. So he does help you win games on that end. I love the Jaden McDaniels for Defensive Player of the Year shout out. He's really capable on that end of doing that. And I think this is the year he takes a leap. You know, each year he's gotten better. He was one of the guys I shouted out for breakout players. Each year his scoring has gone up, his ball handling has improved. So I'm looking to him to have a bigger like role this year and really solidifies himself as like a two-way wing, not just like a one-way wing right now. Yeah. But yeah, their roster is immaculate. I love the Nikhil Alexander Walker pickup. He's like a good role player. Troy Brown too. They just added people that fit what they're trying to do. Play defense, make shots. The only person that doesn't fit is Cat. So it'll be interesting to see what they'll do with them. But also like the rookie Leonard Miller they drafted, I gotta shout him out. He's an amazing young talent. 19 years old, 6'10". He can shoot, play defense.
He's a freak athlete.
Man, that kid is impressive. He really should get some minutes, but they're just so deep at his position.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. I mean,
one thing I would say too, Bernie, sorry to interrupt you before you go too far, just about Jaden McDaniels and Rudy. Like one of the things I think that's underrated about Rudy, or not underrated, but underrepresented and underdiscussed, is how he was asked to defend in Utah, which is where pretty much everybody has formed their opinions of him as a player. He never played with a defender like Jaden McDaniels. Like he was basically asked to kind of play defense almost like Mobley sometimes, right? Where he's kind of, and that was part of the reason he could get played off the court so often in playoff games, is they would drag him out on switches out to the perimeter, and he just was not athletic enough to get himself back like a guy like Mobley is. But with Jaden McDaniels, I mean, he's not going to have to do that. You know, he didn't have to do that, and that was part of the reason they, turned it around last season, is you could play Rudy Gobert defensively to his strengths much more than like Quinn Snyder had asked him to for much of his career. So I do think that's really important. And honestly, I do think this team has a potential Cat trade this season. I mean, I know we've kind of talked about that for the last couple of years, but I mean, he's the most logical one to go. And if there is an opening for them to go get a guy that fits their team better, I would be pretty surprised if they didn't jump on it at this point in the Cat experience. Like, I think they know what they got with that guy, So I'll let you go for it, Bernie. But yeah, those are my final couple points there for the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, just to go really quick, because I know you guys covered actually pretty much all the talking points that I came up with. I think with this team, it's more about, like you said, like Mike Conley steadying the ship for this squad. Now that you finally have him, you have somebody that could actually, get the offense going, can create opportunities for other guys. Because I think that was kind of what was missing at the beginning of the year for this team. Anthony Edwards isn't like as big of a playmaker in terms of Mike Conley, in terms of creating for others, which I think kind of hurt Rudy Gobert at the beginning of the year. Whether he is whether he has fumbleitis or whatever he has where he can't catch the basketball, or even just not in the right position, because I just felt like the chemistry between those two were off. That being Ant-Man and Rudy Gobert offensively. Like you said, defensively they're going to be huge. They're long, they're athletic. I think this is going to be more of a defensive team moving forward. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a fun and interesting roster, because again, they were close to beating the Lakers in that play-in game to get a better seed. And so I think that was something that Minnesota, if Anthony Edwards wasn't hurt, or even if they had a competent offense at the time, I think they probably would have won that game, because I mean it came down to the wire at the end of it. I think the Lakers are way better than them, but they had an opportunity. Right. And, if the Lakers aren't playing as well, then if you have an opportunity to finish them, then I would do that. But again, this team is a young team. They're learning, they're getting experience. But yeah, I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves, now I have them in, oh man, this is tough. Do we have them in playoff, or do we have them league pass worthy? Where do you guys,
I put them in playoff.
I think they're a playoff team.
They're a playoff team?
Yeah.
All right.
I hate to just harp on the Suns all the time, but like, what are the Suns going to do against this team? I don't even see it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Which segues into our next team.